and blessings be granted to all my brothers and sisters. It is your brother Jehoshaphat Israel here early in the morning time, family. And I just wanted to vent off of current history and past history. Now, I'll be touching over the subject of reparations, and then I'll be touching over the subject of California's so-called propaganda homeless problem. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know American history, but as far as black folk, back in the 1960s, our streets and our neighborhoods and our hoods and our ghettos was flooded by the FBI with drugs. That's what happened, family. It devastated the black community where I come from, family. It devastated us to have, and it was all portions. Even though at the time in the late 80s and the 70s when this was going on, Fresno, California had a small population. The population of Fresno, California stayed at 80,000 people for more than 20 years before immigrants came to Fresno. Let's just say 100,000 people for about a good 20 to 30 years. They were only allowing a certain amount of people in. Now, from the history of what my people tell me about black folks from Fresno, California, we wasn't allowed to live in the city, so we stayed out in Chatel, Fresno, a little country area in tents. So we were tent people until the white people actually let us move into the city. Now, when we moved into the city, a lot of black people came, and we took a whole side. It was the west side of Fresno. The German white people who lived there, they moved out. They did, family. You know what I'm saying? Our whole side of town, the whole west side of Fresno was occupied by German American people. But they left to go to the other sides of Fresno, more richer areas. So black people started flooding in. Now in the 60s all the way to like the 70s, they flooded all the African American communities with drugs that devastated our community. Now, as you look at California now, history, it repeats itself. God does not like ugly, family. God is a God of irony. Whatever you do, he'll turn it around and use it on you. Now, back in 2008, I would always wonder, about 2008, 2013, I would wonder, what are the drugs that the white people are on to where they out in the middle of the street acting like monkeys? That's what they were doing. I'm not gonna lie to you, family. They were outside acting like they'd have total breakdowns in the middle of the street, but the drug made them act like a monkey. And I always wondered, what drug are they on that'll make them act like that? Now, methamphetamines and syringes, that's not really a black thing right there. We don't really do those drugs like that. That's more on white people. From what I know, the people I know, the areas I lived in, all the people who did methamphetamines was either a white person or a Mexican American. That's not a black drug. Okay, like Sherm and heroin and harder drugs like that, there are black people that do those drugs, but the percent of those people are very low in the black community. So God himself allowed this to happen. Now, I wonder what was going on. Now we find out in 2023 that the Mexican cartels have mixed their drugs with fentanyl. So the fentanyl makes it more harder for anybody to get off the drug. Even if them people want to get off those drugs, the Mexican cartel have mixed it with fentanyl to even make it more harder for them to get off the drug. Now you've seen your country invade your communities and infect them with drugs. Now it's 2023 and you see California and is people on drugs everywhere. So when you sit there and you say California has a homeless problem, it doesn't have a homeless problem. California has a drug problem. But all of this stemmed from what y'all did to the black people. What y'all did to my people. If you would have never infected our communities in the 60s and the 70s, God is full circle, family. All history will always repeat itself, but it will not repeat itself in the manner of what happened last time, family. I told you what was going to happen in Russia. Y'all didn't believe me. You know what I'm saying? I used the same settlements and everything. I told y'all. Will the Russians win this time? Last time they won. They won. They kicked the Germans in 1942. They kicked the Germans out. They kicked the Germans out of Russia. Now they're the aggressor. Now they're the invader, family. The shoe is on the other foot. So when history repeats itself, the shoe will always be on the other foot. Now, let me touch on reparations because I'm running late and I'm trying to get to work. Now, anybody that would have a problem with so-called African Americans getting reparations have done something to black people. If you see any race of people and they sit there and they say, oh, well, black people, they shouldn't get reparations, it's because you have oppressed black people in some type of manner and you got to pay for it. That's why you see so much pushback with the Hispanic community against black people and reparations. You would think that they would have our corner. You would think they would have our back. But they're no different than the white people, family. They're no different. Whatever the white people doing to your people in California, they learned it from whatever the Mexican people are doing to so-called African Americans in California. They learned all of that stuff from white people. So anytime you see any race of people and they go against reparations for black people, it's because they have oppressed black people in some type of manner. They have done some dirt. Blood is on their hands, family. That's the only reason why you will see any pushback from any other group of people that would sit there and try to deny so-called African Americans from getting reparations, because they themselves have done something to black people and then they must pay. So that has been my daily topic for my brothers and sisters to think about. My heart, my mind, my spirit is on California, for that's where I come from. My God, he told me to get out of California because California is under judgment for what they have done to so-called black people. So let's see what happens, family. Let's see what happens. All glory be given to God.